ปรบมือหน่อยค่ะปรบมือหน่อยค่ะเด็กๆอยากเป็นพิธีกรรายการเกมโชว์ค่ะเอาละค่ะขอต้อนรับกลับเข้าสู่การถ่ายทอดสดกิจกรรมของสัปดาห์สิ่งแวดล้อมแม่โขงอาเซียนหรือแมว 2025 นะคะยังอยู่ด้วยกันสำหรับท่านที่เลือกชมห้องนี้นะคะที่ห้องจามจุรีต้องเรียนให้ทุกท่านทราบด้วยว่านอกจากห้องจามจุรีที่เรามีถ่ายทอดสดเรามีกิจกรรมทุกห้องถ่ายทอดสดไปพร้อมกันที่แฟนเพจของแมวทั้งไทยและอังกฤษนะคะจะมีการตั้งโพสต์เอาไว้เพื่อรวมลิงก์เป็นลิงก์เดียวดังนั้นทุกท่านสามารถเช็คลิงก์ของการถ่ายทอดสดได้จากหน้าเพจของแมวหรือเว็บ
at our website www.maew.org. We will study from the case studies, and we also have the resource persons to join sharing with us. Firstly, I would like to invite Mr. Winnie from the World Rainforest Movement. Everyone, please clap your hands.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Well, in the next hour, we are going to see a video, and it's a video of about 20 minutes. I will quickly introduce the video, and after the video, Mera from Indonesia, he will comment about the video, and then we will open for more comments and questions from you. To introduce the video, so since about 2007, people from NGOs, from companies, they have come to communities living in the forest areas like the country I live in, Brazil, in the Amazon. And they are saying they have a very good proposal for the community. Yeah? That they come with a proposal to protect the forest. But nobody really understands what they are talking about. It's very confusing proposal because they start to talk about carbon. In almost all communities in the forest, they never talk about carbon, no? But they say there's a lot of carbon in the forest, in the trees, and to keep this carbon there is very important for the climate. Yeah? There's a lot of deforestation, and we need to stop deforestation. And therefore, they say we have a project, and it can give a lot of benefit to you. Well, this type of project, or this type of visit to community in the past few years has happened a lot. Nowadays, there's almost no community in the Amazon who has not received such a visit. So it's not a timber company, it's not a mining company. The people already know. Yeah? The mining causing a lot of destruction, the timber gets the timber out. But it's this very strange talk about carbon. Very strange. They call this project also with a very difficult name. I don't know here in Thailand or in Laos if you have heard about this, but from the beginning, 2007, they call it REDD. It's an abbreviation. Stands for reduction of emissions from deforestation and forest degradation. Oh, very complicated, no? Very complicated name. Nowadays, they use other names. They don't use this anymore. They talk about carbon project in the forest, conservation project, nature-based solution, other names. And because it's so complicated, many communities started to contact us to come and help to understand what is this project about. Yeah? And so we started to explain that actually this is not about forest, stopping deforestation. Behind this project are very polluting companies And they want to continue to pollute. And they give money to protect forest, and then they say we have compensated our pollution. Yeah. And we also tell them that because we have visited several of these projects in the Amazon, in Africa, some here in Asia, Indonesia, these projects, they have not brought benefit to community. If they brought benefit, very little. They have brought many problems, division, restrictions to enter the forest, to cut a tree. People need to cut a tree to build a house. You cannot do it anymore. So many problems. And one of these communities, they asked us, we have made some publication, but they asked us to make a video and to have community speaking about this project. And this is the video you will see now. And so we organized a meeting in their territory. You will see this indigenous community. It's called the Ka'apor people in the Amazon forest. And several other people will speak who were invited to this meeting. And they also asked us to try to explain what is behind this story of these polluting companies that use this project to compensate. So we also participated, me and other people from the organization, to try to explain what is this carbon about they are talking. All of this in 20 minutes. We have this film here in Thai, with Thai subtitles, so you can follow it. It's in English, so I hope most of you can follow it. And the last thing I want to mention, the indigenous people who asked us to make the video, they asked us to have the video with a clear message, to say no to these projects. Because if you look on internet for material on carbon project, you will find a lot of material. And most of the material say this is very good proposal. But the people you will see in the video, they don't believe in that. And they, together, after this meeting, they started to build a network to resist these projects, because they understand this is a threat for the forest. And let me go to the video now, so you can listen and you can see for yourself. And afterwards, we are very happy to hear your comments, because most of us are from Latin America, and we are not here from Asia, so we are very curious to hear what do you think of the video, if you think this is useful here, or you think that this is very strange for us, you would rather better make something else. We are really curious to know your reaction. So let's see the video.
In the forests of Africa, Asia and Latin America, communities like this one are used to their territory being threatened by miners, illegal loggers, and land grabbers. But now, in addition to these threats, they are facing a new kind of greed, the greed of those who mine the air, the carbon market proponents.
We have suffered a lot of harassment from companies that want to buy carbon within our communities.
They came here saying that as community members and owners of our land, we could take and sell carbon credits. I didn't know what REDD was or what carbon credits were, and neither did my people.
When it was timber exploitation, we would watch the barges go by with the logs, and we saw all our wealth going to another region. Not today. Today it is the carbon market, and this time we don't see anything. In other words, what is being sold when there is nothing you can see, touch, or feel?
And what are carbon credits? Who buys them? Who issues them? What do they solve? What are we talking about?
What is this market? The forest has been there for many years, and the communities have been protecting it for many years. And now a project is coming to save the forest?
And the company is going in there, offering millions for the communities to just lie in their hammocks and do nothing. I have a friend who always says that he gets suspicious when money is involved. And that's also what happened to me. I became suspicious.
These are biopirates trying to subjugate indigenous peoples through lies, so that they get the community's approval via a contract with the company, so that the company can then trade carbon in the name of the community.
To address this complex reality, representatives of communities from different countries came together in the Capô indigenous territory in the Brazilian Amazon.
This dialogue is very important for us because we want to learn a lot of information from other countries, from leaders who have come here, so that we can understand these carbon credits. Because many people have already had experiences with carbon credits, and they are already going through problems and difficulties. This is what we have to talk about amongst ourselves to debate against REDD.
Brothers and sisters, today is a historic day for us, and if we are here, it is to claim our rights as indigenous peoples. And the carbon projects are causing division within the peoples and within indigenous families.
They talked about the different strategies that companies, NGOs and governments use to approach their communities and sell carbon credits from their territories.
They were very strategic because they used an indigenous person. They used her to get to us. But they did not actually hold a prior consultation in our territory. They held it in the city. They paid for people's hotels and meals. They treated them very well in order to be able to greenlight the project.
We are also here to contribute, to share some of our experiences. This agreement was made in isolation. They only invited a few leaders and a few people, and with that they made it look like they had the support of all of our people so that they could access the carbon credits. We rejected this, saying that we, the Munduruku people, did not accept this project in our territory.
They asked us to sign meeting minutes verifying the presence of the inhabitants who were at the meeting. And I later found out through a project document that this list that they had requested was used to verify that the people were in agreement with the project and the people were not. They did not even know that this list was going to be used to say they were in agreement with the project. When I discovered this, the project had already sold a lot of carbon credits.
Me visitaron dos personas manifestando querer hablar.
Two people visited me, saying they wanted to speak with the leaders of my territory. They wanted to move forward on a project with children and the elderly. And they brought gifts and an invitation to a meeting that was held in the territory. When they left, the women noticed they were pulling out a drone. Why do you have that drone? What is it for? Oh, that's just so we can get a better understanding of the area. This really got our attention and concerned us. We got to the bottom of it and found out that they already had an established carbon credit business in our territory, which we were not aware of.
We began to notice a lot of outsiders whom we perceived were not from the region or territory, and we investigated to understand what those people were doing there. This is how we found out that there was a project within the territory. We found this out after it had been going on for 10 years. and we were able to initiate a lawsuit against Vera, which had certified the REDD project in the community's territory. This is how the project was slowed down, not stopped, but slowed down, and now it is in the courts.
We did not know what the carbon market was. Yet there was a contract that had been signed without a consultation, without the free and informed consent of the communities. And when we discovered this and the signed contract, we began to meet in the communities, in assemblies, and all of our communities together concluded that this contract was not welcome in the territories, since it has a time frame of 30 years, extendable to 100 years. The contract contained some clauses that were not in alignment with our culture or with nature. They were not in alignment with the context of our community and territory. So, we got some legal and technical advice, and the contract has been suspended until the process of prior consultation moves forward.
The meeting participants also wanted to know what had happened in communities on other continents. To this end, they watched testimonies that had been recorded for them. The testimonies show that women suffer from the most severe impacts, and yet their voices are rarely heard.
REDD has a huge impact on women, especially in our village, because the women in our village were prohibited from entering the forest. This means that women were also prohibited from farming. We were not able to grow rice because we were not allowed to burn the forest, which is the way that we traditionally grow crops. Also, the women were no longer allowed to collect firewood or medicinal plants. This has also affected the men who used to hunt in the forest. This has affected us because we are very dependent on the forest.
I began to plant trees for the EcoTrust Carbon project. I upheld the agreement by planting the trees that EcoTrust had asked me to. In return, they promised me money to take care of my children, which they never gave me. Since I planted those trees, I have not made a single dollar from them, but I have children to take care of and to feed. It got to a point where I could not guarantee that I could provide food for my children through the planting of those trees. So I decided to cut down the trees and plant banana trees, as you can see in the background. When I cut down the trees and started growing food, they began to threaten me, calling me on the phone in the afternoon and at night.
The origin of the carbon market dates back more than 30 years, but in 2015, it received a major boost with the signing of the Paris Agreement at the United Nations Climate Conference.
I look around this room and I see that the reaction is positive. I hear no objections. The Paris Climate Agreement is adopted.
Promoters of the carbon market present it as the solution to the climate crisis that the world is facing. In fact, it is far from being a solution to our current problems.
The era of global warming has ended, the era of global boiling has arrived.
Kenya, it's all of Africa contributing the least to climate change but suffering some of the worst impacts. The droughts, right now we've had...
The drought that the Amazon is facing is one of the worst in history. The rivers are dry. They reduce the problem of the climate crisis to there being too much carbon dioxide, as if that were the problem. But in reality, the problem is much deeper, and it has to do with the production system. In order to solve the problem, the production system must be changed. So when they talk about carbon, they are talking about CO2, or carbon dioxide. This is the gas generated by the excessive burning of fossil fuels, such as oil, gas, and coal. These fuels are mostly used in the large industries, for example, aviation, oil, mining, and other industries. So, one of the great deceptions of the carbon market is to make us believe that this carbon dioxide, which is emitted in large amounts, can be offset by a forest or a plantation in a country far away from where the carbon has originally been emitted.
And the name they have given this supposed offset was carbon neutrality.
This alleged carbon neutrality is a lie because they continue to release a lot of carbon into the atmosphere, and the forests do not have the capacity to absorb this carbon.
And carbon credits are the currency they use to buy this alleged neutrality. When they buy carbon credits, companies are making a fictitious trade between the pollution they emit and the supposed absorption of this pollution by forests or plantations.
We call carbon credits pollution credits because they give these companies the right to pollute.
It is no coincidence that the main buyers of carbon credits are large destructive corporations and industries that emit a lot of pollution, such as oil, aviation, technology, and mining companies, among others.
These companies are experts in using carbon projects as a form of propaganda and a way to divert attention from the impacts they are causing.
Almost anyone can buy carbon credits to help compensate for their carbon footprint.
One of the most advanced gasolines in the world, which is now carbon neutral.
REDD projects are one of the main kinds of carbon projects. REDD stands for Reducing Carbon Emissions from Deforestation and Forest Degradation. What these projects do is invent a story. The story that without the carbon project, the forest would be destroyed.
With these projects, they always have to point to some threat, because otherwise, if there is no danger of deforestation, there is no carbon project. So they will always have to point to some threat to the forest. And in all of these carbon projects, there may be a logging company or perhaps another invader identified as a threat. But they always also point to the communities as a cause of deforestation.
According to the projects, when a community collects firewood or uses fire in a small area for cultivation, it is causing the same destruction and contamination as an oil or mining company. Carbon projects blame communities for deforestation and consequently impose restrictions and prohibitions on them regarding how they can use their own territories. Ultimately, these projects are not selling carbon. What they are selling is the promise to protect forests, saying that communities do not know how to or cannot protect the forests themselves. And they call that promise a carbon credit. These carbon credits are certified by companies such as Vera and then sold by private companies or NGOs. Vera has been involved in several scandals. Governments also sometimes implement REDD projects in much larger areas, which can cover several territories. These are called jurisdictional REDD or governmental REDD projects. But these projects are not actually better, nor do they represent less of a risk for communities.
The mechanism is perverse because REDD projects are not implemented in places where there is a lot of deforestation. Why is that? Because it is much more profitable to have large monoculture soybean and oil palm plantations and large-scale mining. These activities generate a lot more money than carbon projects. So, what actually happens? These projects are brought to forest areas that are not endangered, and there are always communities in these areas.
This is why carbon market is targeting many communities' territories. Operating with a racist and colonial logic, this market has now unleashed a new wave of land grabbing in the global south.
Through this gathering, this conversation, this dialogue, this exchange of experiences, we have come to understand that everyone is going through the same thing. For us, it is essential to understand that REDD has already harmed many territories, communities, and people.
It's alarming for us to learn about the situation, how they're signing contracts with indigenous peoples and different kinds of contracts. They are very dangerous contracts where we could easily be deceived and become trapped by these projects and later face the effects and impacts when it's too late. Also, these contracts would be very long term.
quando esses projetos eles chegam dentro das comunidades,
when these projects come to the communities, they do not recognize our way of life. They do not recognize our cultures, customs, or traditions. Most of all, they do not recognize our traditional knowledge, which has always been passed down from generation to generation, in which we use nature as a means of subsistence.
Basically, this is about restricting and prohibiting us from even using these territories. That is, using the forest in the way we have historically used them as indigenous people.
This project comes from the top down. So, there are two visions of the territory. The vision of the community, our vision as peoples and traditional communities, and the vision of the big capitalist companies that are in the market, wanting to make more profits, and they want to continue polluting.
We're concerned about plans to promote climate capitalism as a solution for addressing climate change. With our people, our indigenous knowledge, this is wrong. It's evil to have a system of ownership of life itself, ownership of the air. So we are part of a movement to say no.
Our culture is the Kapu culture. We defend nature. Therefore, we do not negotiate nature for the market. This has to stop.
We don't want them to keep using our work of caring for, protecting and defending the forest so they can continue to have a green image in the world. A false green image, because here in my territory, they are greenwashing their image, and in other territories they are destroying, killing and dispossessing other indigenous peoples of their communal homes. It is hypocrisy on a global scale that this is not being talked about directly, because otherwise this COP wouldn't be in its 29th year, soon to be in its 30th year, and we are still not able to talk about a climate solution. This is why we have risen up and continue to resist, rejecting this false climate solution.
And we must not accept these carbon credits. If we are going to defend our territories, then let it be for us.
Not red.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I just want to make some comments like we already talking before in the beginning. So I will introduce myself. My name is Merah Johansah. I'm from Indonesia, particularly from Kalimantan Island. Yeah. If you see the movie, there is some parts talking about the central Kalimantan. So the project is also happening not only in the Latin Americas and in other places, but also in Indonesia, in Kalimantan. So I want to make a comment. Maybe anyone else from here, from you also, you can also make a comment after this. For this film, for this movie, I think this very important, very giving us a clearly picture about the climate, the false or the fake climate solution that now we are already facing. So we are facing not only a lot of expansion of fossil fuel industries or coal mining activities or rare earth minerals expansion, hydropower and the others, but we also facing the fake or false climate solution that bringing with this film, and we try to make a comparative to see what happened in Indonesia, because in my place in Kalimantan we are now facing also like this. So our government promote the REDD, yeah, as also the common climate solution to the communities. And like we see in this film also, the communities on the ground didn't have complete information. There is no free prior informed consent. They only talk about the money. They promising some number of money to communities if the communities accepted this project. We working and make a speaking and talking with a lot of group of communities, especially indigenous communities, Dayak in West Kutai, in East Kalimantan, who also facing this project from the government. The talking only surrounding about the money. There is no very holistic, complete information about what kind of the project and what the impact if they receive this project. Like we see in the movie, it's similar. So the communities didn't know the impact after if he received the project or the contract. Yeah. That's we are facing also in Indonesia. And then we also see how this project is likely only business mechanism. Yeah. So there is no discussion about how to stop the mining expansion. So in other hands, the coal mining in Kalimantan is still expansion. The exploitation is still ongoing. But in the other things, the government and some elites of the villagers, like we see in the movie, who are inviting for the forum, for the community gathering, it's only a few of leader. So not all of the member of communities involving in this process. So the project for this still ongoing. In the other hands, the coal mining activities not stop, still happen. So I think it's very bright, clearly picture how the communities in Indonesia are also facing like this movie that we are see. And then like some very important quote from the woman from Uganda and from Brazil, local leader from Peru and the others. They don't know about the impact of this project. And they call it the hypocrisy because this is a colonial logic. Yeah? So if you know the history of the colonization and also the history of the who more have a responsibility for the destruction of the earth, for the climate crisis is also the big company, and also if you see in the history of the industrial revolution and before industrial revolution, this big country in the global north have a very huge responsibility for this. So it's like more racism to the global south, especially for the communities. They putting the communities and try to divide the communities from their forests, and watching the communities, just like the communities have a responsibility for all of the destruction. Honestly, if we see, only the communities, especially the indigenous communities, who protect very meaningful, protect to their forests. So we see this is also contain not only hypocrisy, but also colonial logic and racism, like some of the representative of the communities said in the movie. So, like in Indonesian experience is my place. So the government of Indonesia working closely with World Bank, and also they launching FGPF, the forest carbon facility based on the jurisdiction REDD in East Kalimantan. They promoting 22 billion, I think, $22 billion, and giving money to the communities, but they never giving the complete story about the imperialism of this energy and the imperialism of the pollution, how this mechanism can be more continuing the pollution and the destruction. So I think that's some word from me, some comment from me. In Indonesia, the money who coming with World Bank is also coming from British Petroleum. British Petroleum, or BP, is one of the biggest polluters in the world, in the earth. British Petroleum is the big, large mining and oil and gas company. And the communities didn't know where is the money come from. So there is no free informed consent. There is no complete information to communities. And they don't know. This is only a strategy for the government, the extractivism, and also the oligarchy, because it needs a political actor also to working the system. So Indonesian damage the environment, the ecological crisis in Indonesia, also causing by the elite and the oligarchy, the extractive oligarchy. So this is a kind of connection between them. So I think that's my comment, and I hope it can be inviting you all guys also to make a comment about this film. I think this film is very important for us to share to another friend. Thank you.
Halo semuanya, selamat siang, good evening. I want to introduce myself. My name is Tere. I'm come from Indonesia in its Kalimantan. But I cannot speak English well, so Mas Yoyo can be translate.
Okay. Yes, my name is Teresa Jari. I'm from East Kalimantan. I'm helping just to interpret, please.
Oke, setelah menonton film ini, saya jadi teringat setahun yang lalu bersama Winnie datang ke satu komunitas masyarakat adat di Kutai Barat, masyarakat Dayak Tunjung, dan saya jadi mengingat satu kata yang disampaikan oleh Mama Bungan. Dia bilang,
Berhenti dulu. Okay, the video actually remind me a lot about a trip with Winnie last year to West Kutai. And there actually I met a woman, her name is Mama Bunga, and this is what she said.
Mama Bunga bilang, perempuan tidak hanya sekedar mengandung, tetapi dia juga menghimpun pengetahuan saat ia melahirkan. Bersama dengan itu juga dia melahirkan pengetahuan tentang kehidupan, tentang menjaga hutan, menjaga air, dan keberlangsungan hidup.
Okay, so Mama Bunga told Tere that when woman deliver a baby, the baby actually, she's not only giving birth to the baby, but she's also delivering all the knowledge embedded throughout the pregnancy and all that. And at the same time, actually, she's also reproduce and creates new knowledge about life and it's about the world surroundings.
Dalam film ini kita melihat bahwa kebijakan yang diambil oleh pemerintah yang ditentukan oleh siapapun itu sangat jauh dengan apa yang dibutuhkan oleh perempuan di dalam rumah, di dalam kehidupan ia sehari-hari. Mereka bahkan tidak tahu apa itu program karbon, apa itu apa itu REDD dan lain sebagainya. Bahkan mereka tidak tahu dampak yang akan mereka alami.
Okay, so this is in contrast to what government has been doing all the time. That actually has nothing to do with life, with how women actually should struggle in life, and it's that actually it relates even also even stranger concepts like carbon and carbon trading and all that.
Perempuan di Kutai Barat setiap pagi biasanya mereka bangun pagi dan mempersiapkan makan minum seperti biasanya, lalu mereka pergi ke hutan untuk menyadap karet, mengambil sayur, memelihara binatang, dan mereka sering menyebut hutan itu adalah kantor atau tempat mereka bekerja.
Okay, so this is like a daily life of women in West Kutai. So waking up and then they go to the forest and then picking up vegetables and tapping rubbers and the forest for women in West Kutai is like their office. This is the work, the business we do is actually in the forest.
Ya, hutan bagi perempuan Dayak di Kalimantan itu juga adalah pemberi kehidupan pertama bagi mereka.
Okay, so the forest is like the one creatures that actually give life to the women.
Mereka tidak pernah pusing atau tidak pernah kebingungan apapun yang terjadi. Contoh pada saat COVID, orang-orang di kota bingung karena kehilangan pekerjaan, karena harus bekerja di rumah dan lain sebagainya. Orang-orang yang tinggal dekat dengan hutan, mereka tidak kebingungan untuk mencari makan, untuk keberlangsungan hidupnya. Mereka bisa setiap hari mengakses apapun yang mereka butuhkan di hutan.
Okay, so a very good example is like during the COVID pandemics. In contrast to those who live in the urban settings, women in West Kutai, they live just like normal, ordinary life. In the forest, they pick food from the forest, their agroforestry and all that, and they have nothing to worry because they have everything in the forest.
Ya, mereka bahkan sudah tahu dan sudah memproyeksikan setiap hutan yang atau ruang hidup yang mereka miliki, bahwa kebun untuk jangka panjang, misalnya mereka menanam karet, itu digunakan untuk menyekolahkan anak, untuk biaya kesehatan, dan lain sebagainya. Lalu kemudian mereka menanam padi dan sayur-sayuran, itu untuk kebutuhan karbohidrat dan kebutuhan protein yang mereka bisa dapat di hutan dan bisa dapat di sungai. Jadi mereka sudah tahu ruang hidup mereka ini diproyeksikan untuk apa dalam putaran ekonomi mereka.
Okay, so the whole landscape, the forests and all that actually is in the mindsets of the women in West Kutai has everything. So rubber tapping is for long-term economy, how to send their kids to schools and all that, and picking up and growing veggies, catching fish and all that is to provide them with carbohydrates, proteins from vegetables and all that.
Sayangnya kebijakan-kebijakan yang diambil oleh pemerintah, apapun itu tentang perizinan industri ataupun proyek yang proyek karbon seperti di film ini, itu tidak pernah melibatkan perempuan. Perempuan tidak pernah hadir dalam ruang-ruang rapat yang menentukan bagaimana ruang hidup mereka diproyeksikan dalam tanda kutip oleh pemerintah.
So, and what it's strange and regretful is actually that all these things, there's a big policy about industry, about carbon trading, all this, never involve women.
Dan setiap kebijakan yang saat ini terjadi justru menjauhkan perempuan dari ruang hidup mereka.
And all these things actually sort of shoo away women from their own life space.
Ya, tidak ada kebijakan untuk melindungi ruang hidup, artinya tidak ada kebijakan untuk melindungi perempuan dan keberlangsungan hidup.
So, in brief, because there's no protections, there is no policy framework to protect their life space, it also means that there is no protections for women.
Thank you.
We have 10 minutes left. Would anyone like to comment? Something, please, or... Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Wara from Earthrise International, based in Chiang Mai. Earthrise work with the communities in Thailand and other parts of Thailand to raise awareness about the carbon credit and the underneath issues behind it. I've learned from the Brazil case and I've learned from the Indonesia case, and I would like to send the solidarity to the indigenous people who fight to protect their land and forests in this case. In the case of Thailand, carbon credit is the false solution to climate change. We have realized that, but at policy level, we see carbon credit as a mechanism and to rip off the rights of the indigenous communities in some part of Thailand. The change of policy, the rebrand of the policy under reforestation and asking for the communities to return that forest to the government. The term return is problematic because when we count and we look deeper into the issue, it's about taking forests away from the ownership of the local communities. And secondly, in other cases of Thailand, we've seen that the communities, indigenous communities are the forest protector. But in this case, the right to manage the forest is taken away by the government initiatives such as carbon credit. In the case of Cambodia, Earthrise support one indigenous community who were arrested because he get into the forest to just pick the mushroom and other non-timber forest products that are essential and significant to their livelihoods. And we support that indigenous person, to go through the court process and other things. So I want to Appreciate the learning from this case, and I will continue to monitor and learning from other areas in order to reflect that carbon credit is a false solution to climate change, and we shouldn't accept it in any case. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Someone else?
Hello, I am Jarik. I am here as a part of research assistant in People History. It's a core project of Chulalongkorn Social Research Institute and focus on the Global South. For me, I just more have one comment or exchange with my personal experience regarding the documentary and the topic that you have been discussed already. During the time, around 6 years ago, I have got a chance to witness when the DNP, the Department of National Park in Thailand, they try to prepare some sort of readiness for race path initiatives in Thailand, and which is eventually that project which performed by they asked and formed, they recruit a team of academics to perform the study on that readiness preparations, but eventually it was turned out because some sort of the mechanisms within it guys then that does not that some Thai government or that Thai government still reluctant to accept it, such as in REDD Pass, there are the things that's called a strategic and environmental and social assessment, which the World Bank, they try to say that they have concern about the community, about indigenous people, but in Thailand at the moment, I don't think that term is very much popular in the sense. I think the Thai government prefer the terms such as ethnic more than the indigenous, of course. But anyway, for me, it is sad that the readiness that academic team that I mentioned perform has been turned down by the department itself, and they eventually found a way to initiate their own REDD Plus, and which later on become the principle of the recent climate change department as well. But anyway, for me, seeing the documentary and as well as my own experience, I think this thing is, to me, it's just the rise and fall of acronyms. It's like before this concept of economic, the joint of economic and environment is the sort of it's come and go, but the principle is still there. Before REDD Plus is what REDD, and even before that, there was PES, right, payment on ecological service, and out of this thing, to me, is run on the same principle. As you have already mentioned, it's about the rich people trying to find a way to buy the quota, the pollution emission quota from the poor people, and it's clearly injustice, right? Because they just use the money just to buy this quota from the poor who have less or even have negative carbon footprints, which for them to be able to continue on their economic activities without having to concern, or just by saying that they already have the carbon credit bought from someone else, which the carbon neutral things is actually the problematic at its very principles, which I agree to all of you that the things that we try to say in this MEL event and as well as this panel is that we have to keep rejecting this principle. We have to continue to say that this is the false solution, even though it's just transformed from one acronym to another, but it is still the same principle of the the green grabbing, the green washing, or imperialism from the global north toward people on the global south, which it is very good to see that you have mentioned this in this event as well, and I hope that we could look forward for more further discussions on the next day. For instance, I have heard that there will be one session about that linking to this panel as well toward the capitalism in the 21st century, which thank you very much. That's just my comment.
Thank you very much. We still have three minutes left. Maybe we can take one more comment. Someone would like to comment?
Thank you. I'm Tianle from Food Think China. We just published a report on climate change in rural China and its impact to smallholder farmers and NGOs working there. And we also find, unfortunately, carbon market is something recognized and supported by Chinese government. That means we have very little political space to fight against this mechanism in the country. But at the same time, we also find that smallholder farmers find it very confusing for them to participate in it. Some farmers call it, these companies go to do these rural communities, telling the farmers that you can sell your air for money. It's like a joke in China now. But when we work with these communities, we find that they do make an important contribution in mitigation, but their contribution cannot be recognized under current mechanism. And even NGOs or government require very strict methodology for them to provide evidence, what their contribution is, either in mitigation or adaptation. So I wonder if we don't think about, we forget about carbon market, what other innovative mechanism that we can try to create, or what bottom-up methods we can develop to support these communities, because climate change for them is real, and what can we do? Thank you.
Okay, so it's 2:00, and tomorrow there will be another session. Maybe this is a good point to take to the session tomorrow, if the program continues. I guess it should continue, huh? And we finalize here. Thank you very much. And if you have any other comment on the video, please come to talk with me. We would like to hear more from you, but it can be after this session. Thank you very much.
ขอบพระคุณมากนะคะ I would like to